good afternoon to all of you. I am Nanda Gopal, the President of Association of Indian Management School. I was very closely associated with the AIMS for more than 3 decades. And this year I am elected as the President of Association of Indian Management Schools. See, this few months we have started a new initiatives. So basically, we wanted to reach out all the stakeholders of our association. As you all know, the Association of Indian Management Schools was started almost 8 years back at the initiation of Professor Joe Philip, the former director of IIM Bangalore. So he initiated, and today we have more than 500 to 600 members as the members of this association. One of the very active and vibrant body for the representing the business schools in India. We also have collaboration with a few of the international associations like AMBA, ACPSB, WACSB, and EFMD. And we also closely work with AMTISA and All India Management Association. Every year we organize an annual convention. We encourage the faculty members, both young faculty and senior faculty members, and students also we encourage. We conduct various events during the annual day and recognize the faculty members for their achievements. And this year, we have started a few initiatives to reach out to the stakeholders of the AIMS. One such initiative is the Inspiring Young Minds. That's a program which we are in now. This program is meant for mainly the students of management schools across the country. So today itself, we have more than 280 students are registered for this program. And we hope more than 200 students will join this program. So last 2 months after starting this program, we had a very good response from the students. Every program, we have a number of students who are joining this program is increasing. So the second program which we started was sharing the knowledge. It is mainly for the faculty members of the business school. That also, as I said, it's picking up very well. So this program, that is Inspiring Young Leader program, we started basically to interact with the young minds. And especially the speakers, if you see, they are also from the younger generation. They may be a few years senior to you, maybe 4 or 5 years senior to you. And they know the pulse of the today younger generation. That's the reason why we choose young people to interact with the community. With this background, I'm once again very happy to welcome all of you for this program. And also, I'm very happy to welcome Tony Anthony, who is also one of my favorite students in college days. And he is now running a paper mills. It's one of the leading paper mill in the district of Coimbatore. And they have produced the papers, and they're doing extremely well in the business. He looks after the HR function and administrative function of the business unit. And he is basically a postgraduate program, completed his postgraduate program in management at PH Institute of Management. Prior to that, he did his UG program. And he is active in the professional bodies like Toastmasters Club and Coimbatore Management Association and few of the professional bodies in Coimbatore, and nationally is participating in a lot of activities. And he has also published a few articles, and he has presented a research paper in international conference at the US when he was a student at PH Institute of Management. And one of the person who always want to connect with the younger generation, especially student community, and interact with the student community. And he always comes forward whenever I call him to be part of this kind of exercise. Now I am happy to welcome our today's speaker, Anthony, to address all of you and give some inspiration the way in which you have to take up your career. Thank you, Anthony, for accepting our invitation. And
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please take over.
Yeah, thank you. A very good afternoon to one and all of you all present here. On behalf of Dr. Nanda Gopal and Dr. Sunil Joshi, I would first of all like to thank the All India Management School Association for giving me an opportunity to speak in the first place. I was doing some research about what I should actually be speaking today, and one thing which is really reinvigorating my mind for the last 2-3 months is because of my association with the PSG Management Alumni Association. My frequency towards the business school for the last 2 to 3 months has been very frequent because of a mega event that we are planning next month. So I've been interacting with a lot of students on how to conduct that event in a bigger volume next month. So I was just reigniting my minds, and I just thought that a topic that would be ideal today to discuss will be the junk MBA. Is it reality in progression or not? As I was doing some research about AIMS, I was very astonished to find out that, management education in India has been over and much in relevance for the past almost 63-65 years. It started with IIM Ahmedabad in the early 60s, followed by IIM Calcutta, and then came IIM Bangalore, and then in 1988, if I'm not mistaken, AIMS got set up, and today AIMS has got more than 2,000 business schools under its wing, trying to reinvigorate the young minds in the system. Now, one of the basic problems, I'm 31 years old right now. I was a student 6 years back. I'm interacting with a lot of students on a day-to-day basis. One of the basic problems that we as management students right now we face today is basically on how to equip ourselves to lead the generation forward. Now, I'm going to mix both in terms of academic curriculum as well as how we are supposed to bind our academic curriculum to the realities of being employable. That's like the biggest challenge that a management graduate right now we faces. Now, the complexities in the upcoming trends for a modern day manager is not very equipped for a post-graduation student in management education. The presence of a business school today is not merely dependent only on placements. As an academician, we need to accept the fact that there is no reason that teachers in India cannot retain our positions as a temple of excellence because of the challenges that is highly involved in education. Today, in modern day teaching systems, teachers and faculties are actually playing roles of a facilitator more than teaching the students, thanks to the role of social media and technological advances that is coming in our day-to-day lives. Today, the biggest challenge that as teachers that we face today is how to equip the attention of a modern day students to sit in the class for 40 minutes without any disturbance. That itself is a big challenge thanks to the pandemic, because when we are all alarming towards ourselves to the use of social media, pandemic again brought us back to technology. And today, without technology, neither the teacher nor the student is available in the class. But one of the things that always reinvigorated me is that education is one of the most powerful devices that is plummeting poverty and inequality. For example, if my grandfather had not studied about 70 to 80 years back, I would have still imagined a life where we are selling fishes in the market, because my great-grandfather was a fisherman in the market. Education is nothing but the cosmic factors of infinite intelligence that is harnessed by humanity. And today, if you and me are getting an opportunity to be attending a program by AIMS, we should all be thankful and grateful to our forefathers and ancestors and how beautifully God has given us a time to be together in this space. Talking about management education, creating an original model for management education in India today is the biggest task faced by business school directors. I think Dr. Nanda Gopal, as a director himself and the president of AIMS, he will be having a big question mark about how to improve the quality of management education in India. With the growing demand for management education in our country, the rise is also felt in the opportunities and challenges that is lies ahead. The growth of the Indian economy in the recent past and the compulsion to sustain is also forcing the Indian government, especially the MHRD, to accelerate the process and mount the branches of Indian management education further. Therefore, it would be very interesting, Dr. Nandagopal sir, to appreciate and analyze the several structures of the modern management education that you would be knowing in the times to come. Today, modern business houses and the modern business corporations, they are very clear on their messages to business school. You don't give us managers, we know how to make money, but you give us managers and employees who have got basic ethical sense to run organizations with loyalty, integrity, corporate governance, and more importantly, understanding the reason why you are in our organization. Today, we are looking at employees where the attrition rates is as strong as the employability skills of the organization. The Vedas, the Puranas, the Ayurvedas, the Yogas, the Kautaliyas, the Arthashastras, and the Chanakyas are only some of the milestones that the Indian conventional knowledge system boasts of. There are proof of importing formal education in management systems, but at the end of the day, the Gurukul system always follows the importance of the Guru and the Sishya. Now, let me talk about the role of the UGC and how it's impacting the growth of young leaders in our society. One of the most challenging things of a business school right now is the kind of institutes that is coming up. Today, we have more than 2,000 business schools in India. I do not know how many of you know that at one point of time in 1988, when the AIMS was formed, we had only 100 business schools under its wing. Right now, we have more than 2,000 business schools under its wing. And a very, very imperative data to show the least is among these 2,000 business schools that were present, there are only 29.75% of the students that are actually employable. Now, this is a very, very alarming fact, because if you're saying that, out of 2,000 business schools, assuming there are about 40 to 50,000 students, and only 3,000 students are actually placed, that brings a question mark that, what is your return on investments for the amount of money that you spend in management education? Gone are the days where we expect students to join a business school with a good track record, a good academic credentials, but there is no guarantee that that particular student would actually get a good job offer on hand. And that's the biggest drawback in our system. Today, the higher education system in India, we are having almost 17,000 colleges, 20 central universities, 217 state universities, 106 deemed to be state universities, and 13 institutes of national importance. The number will soon be inflating with the setting of another 20 central universities, 8 new IITs, 7 IIMs, and 5 Indian Institute of Sciences. Now, the question is, the mushrooming of good quality universities is very good for our country, but where is the quality parameter that is involved? Now, under the AICTE, that is the All India Council of Technical Education, there are more than 1,400 business schools that are actually accredited. Out of this accreditation, many management graduates face a big challenge. The challenge is whether the accreditation is worth proportional to the amount of quality imparted in these students or not. Getting accreditation is fine. Getting approval from the Quality Council is fine. But are we in a position where we are able to understand, hey, you know what? My college is a good college. It produces MBA graduates year after year after year. But are we able to sustain the quality? And that's where I believe that alumni play a very, very important role in bringing the college forward. Now, for example, the importance of an MBA today is very marginalized. Back 20 years back, if you're an MBA graduate, people would look up to you. Now, in every street, in every corner of the road, there is an MBA business school. I studied and I'm staying in a city called Coimbatore, which is one of the most captivating educational environments in the state of Tamil Nadu. Now, I'm sitting in Coimbatore, where almost 4 lakh migrant students study here. When I mean migrant students, there are students from other states who are coming and studying here is almost 4 lakh of students. So Coimbatore is basically one big hub, a big hub of education where a lot of students come and study. But the most disappointing factor is, out of the 4 lakh migrant students who are coming and studying, hardly around 30 to 32% of the students basically get placed. Now, this is a very alarming figure, because if you're saying that only 30 to 32% of the students are being placed, and if you're asking me, hey, Anthony, you know what about the remaining 68%? And then we actually need to basically address the white elephant in the room. The white elephant in the room is basically, are we able to connect the reason why management education or an engineering degree or any degree for that matter, are we able to instill good quality education to the students where 3 or 4 years down the line, are they in a position to be finished products and readily employable? Now, if you're asking me a question that, if this is possible, it's definitely a big challenge. Now, my second part of my presentation, I would like to take a book on called Bonsai by Mr. R. Gopalakrishnan, where he amazingly says in a book called as Bonsai, in any business school, there are basically 4 groups of students. The first group of the students is basically called as aggregators. The second is pragmatists. The third is pathfinders. And the fourth is soul searchers. Now, there are 4 basic brackets of students that study in a normal school. Any student for that matter have got high aspirations, but you should also understand today, most of the colleges in India are actually over-governed and under-regulated. The reason why I'm saying is we have so much of rules and regulations on how to conduct an institute. For us to be an institute which is recognized as a temple of excellence has got its own challenges. One of the reasons why institutes fail is they don't have good cover of faculty inside, good quality faculty inside. Any Tom, Dick and Harry who has got a post-graduation and any corporate entity or any good family-run business is running a business school or an engineering colleges, due to lack of strength of faculties, if you're a postgraduate guy or a woman, you can basically get inside the college as a lecturer, get very, very minute sum of amount of salary and still continue. How many faculties today produces a research paper of excellence? It's a big question mark. It's basically a very, very big question mark. Whether the business schools are in a position to instill good quality research to the faculties, another big question mark. Whether we are in a position where too much of rules and regulations are spoiling the impart of higher education in a country, it's another big question mark. Even I am from the state of Kerala, and it really pains me to see that in the last 2 weeks, there is a lot of problems that is happening between the governor and the Ministry of Education, because the governors are supposed to be the chancellors. The governors are supposed to be the chancellors of any university. Now, most of the states who are against the central government are all pushing for the agenda where they don't want the governors to have executive powers to appoint vice chancellors. Now, if you're asking me if the governor and the government is head to toe in fighting for their system, how are we going to improve the quality of education in our country? That is a very big question mark that yes, a youngster, that you should ask yourself. Are we part of the system where the university or where the colleges are going to grow, or are we part of the system where there's a hidden agenda and a hidden narrative on who is bigger in respecting? Maybe we should follow the European model where the education ministry or the education concerns they just support the system and are not the part of the administrative side. Going back about what Mr. Gopalakrishnan of the Tata Sons said, that there are 4 kinds of managers that is present in our day-to-day society. One manager is called as the aggregators, pragmatists, pathfinders, and the soul searchers. Aggregators are those kind of managers who are extremely career-oriented. They are very, very focused on why they are joining the organization. They have a very, very great impetus on why we should run an organization. Why are we joining the organization? Where is my career 5 years down the line? Where am I going to head on to another organization 10 years down the line? They are extremely clear on what they want. The second group of the managers are actually called as pragmatists. They are those kind of managers who actually test the waters in a company. I join a company, I get a good placement. I basically want to understand whether this is the right fit for me. They would observe how a corporate life is. They would immerse themselves in the cultural hues of the organization. And the moment they deem fit to be brave enough to jump into another organization, then they do that. Most of actually 60 to 65% of the work employee force in India belong to the pragmatist group because they have loans to pay to the banks. They have no other goal than to join an organization. They would join this organization. They would taste the corporate life for 3 to 4 years, immerse the culturals and cues of the organization. The moment they find strong enough and brave enough to jump to another organization, they would do that. So third people who kind of managers in the society are pathfinders. Pathfinders are very interesting people. They are managers who are extremely timid in their way they approach work. But the good things about these managers are that, the pathfinders are those people. If you give them the right work according to their capabilities and talents, they would shine. Now, for example, I'm a person who's extremely interested in public speaking. I love public speaking. I'm a part of this club called as Toastmasters. Right from a very young age in school, I used to give these speeches in the assembly. And if you're asking me right from at a very young age, when I was 7 or 8 years old, I would go to my headmaster in my school and say that, sir, I would like to do a speech in the assembly. And most of the time when I go and speak to my headmaster that I want to go speech in the assembly, I would go with a lot of confidence, right? But during the day when the assembly speech is on, I would ultimately fail. I would stammer, I would stutter, but all those things did not fail me in me becoming a public speaker 10 to 15 years down the line. Pathfinders are those kind of people. They might fail. They might fall down 7 times. They might fall down 70 times. But they know at the heart of the heart that they have a talent. And if their boss or if their employer have got the right opportunity to allow them to instill a skill in their life, which the employer or the boss thinks that this particular person can shine, then the pathfinders can go. The fourth group of the managers are called the soul searchers, a very interesting group actually. Soul searchers are those managers who are specialized in a particular art, but can actually understand a great deal of understanding about how life is all about. For example, soul searchers are those kind of managers who are working in an organization that, I've joined this company as a manager or as a trainee because I have no other way in life. I need to pay my loans. I've taken huge amount of loans from the banks to clear my MBA education. I need to pay back my loans. I do not know where the next crunch of money is going to come from, but those people are amazing people because they would sacrifice their passion. But at the end of the day, when they realize that, they've finished all of their commitments. That is when the X factor takes in and they would just roam in life. So I would once again immerse the 4 kinds of managers that goes out from the MBA schools. The first role is called as the aggregators. The second is the pragmatists. The third is the pathfinders. And the fourth is the soul searchers. Okay. Now comes to the last topic of my presentation about how are you going to place yourself as a visionary in the years to come. Okay, these are basic social ethics that you need to find yourself as a young manager. You are going to graduate as an MBA student maybe 1 or 2 years down the line. Nobody's going to take that away from you. Let me be very honest with you. Nobody's going to take away that degree from you. You're going to get a degree from a university or an autonomous B school or whatever that may be. That's all a given. And let's be honest. You guys have paid money to get your certificates. So that's all given. But there are some values that you need to take away when you finish your MBA. I think those are the core competencies in which your life skills remain about. So let me be very honest with you. There's an amazing statement by John C. Maxwell who amazingly says that faith is a substance to be hoped for evidence of things that is not seen. I repeat, faith is a substance to be hoped for evidence of things that is not seen. We need to have faith that we will ultimately reach the goal which we have intended to reach. Many a times it's difficult, many a times it's extremely timid for ourselves to think on those lines, because at the end of the day, all that we want is we want our family to be happy, we want to get married 3-4 years down the line, we need to get a career. All of these things are fine, but there are certain basic social values that you need to get once you complete your management education. There are 6 values which I have in my mind. The first value is, are you having a value of caring for each other? Now, when I mean caring, it does not mean love and affection. Are you able to be grounded as a management graduate? Are you able to be humble? One of the most important skill of a youngster today is, are you in an area of being humble? What is the level of humility in your life? We have everything in our hands. We have good set of parents. We have good set of faculty. We study in a very good business environment. God has blessed us to be in a great surrounding. But are we actually able to understand the reality? Are you able to find out the realness of the reality? That's the right topic for me. Are you able to find out the realness of the reality? Are you able to be humble? Are you able to instill the values of humility on your day-to-day lives? Are you able to thank your creator? Hey, you know what? I've got a life which none of my friends have got. I've got a life where none of the friends of my age group has got. Many people, as I'm talking to you, dream of an education like you. Trust me, how many people like you and me can afford a post-graduation education? Many people would want to understand, why on earth am I so blessed to be in this room talking to you all? The second value is, are you in a state of sharing your values with each other? A very important topic that I would like to discuss today is, as a manager, are you able to share your values with people around you? Are you able to share your visions with people around your employees in the organization that you're working for? So see, in any organization, let's be honest, be it a manufacturing capacity, be it a college, the founders always lay a vision. The founders always lay a vision. It is upon the stakeholders to carry forward the vision to the next grade of development. And that's a big challenge that any organization has. The founders will always have their visions, but it's upon the stakeholders to understand, how do you take that vision forward? So the second question that I want to raise is, are you able to share your values with people outside? The third thing I want to share about is, are you an indigenous asset to the society around you? When I mean the word indigenous asset, for example, there are so many people in this room. There's a person called as Abhimanyu Sharma. There's a person called as Mr. Ullas Reddy. There's Abhay Singh Solanki. There's Neelima. There's Jayant. There's Anudeep. A lot of people who are part of this Zoom conference call, right? At the end of the day, all of these things are extremely important, because everybody in your own individualistic careers have got a talent in you. You are unique in your own way. You are actually unique in your own way. Your strengths might be my weaknesses. My weaknesses may be your strength. But at the end of the day, we are all indigenous assets to the society. How are we going to contribute ourselves to be indigenous? You need to be a person who's got the X factor, who's outstanding, and who's very, very different from the person next to you. God has made us all in that way. It's about us to understand how well we are placed in front of Him. See, we need to understand that this world is not full of sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and a very nasty place out there. And as a youngster, it would beat us down permanently to our knees if you let it be. You know what, my dear friends, you, me, or nobody as business management graduates can even hit as hard as life. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how hard you're getting hit. It's about how hard you can take those hits and keep moving forward. Because that's how I believe how winning is done. Rather than saying that I cannot achieve like him, her, or somebody else, or because of whomsoever it may be. And that's how cowards win. And I know for a fact that you aren't one. You need to go and show as a youngster what your real worth is. Because at the end of the day, destiny is always a matter of choice. It's not a matter of chance. You decide where you are going to go in your life. See, in life, there are always two choices. One is either you make the choice or choices make you. Now, under which paradigm do you fall under? Are you going to live a life as a graduate where you make the choice and you listen to your goals, or you are going to live a career where the choices are going to make you? Now, going on to my fourth point, are you a trendsetter in the society? When I mean the word trendsetter in the society, are you a leader or are you a follower of people? As I said in the beginning of my presentation, that leadership is nothing but the cosmic factors of infinite intelligence that is harnessed by humanity. Now, you need to understand that are you a leader or are you a follower? Now, if you're going to be a leader in your life, if you want to lead people, then the four values that I taught you of caring, sharing, being an indigenous asset, and most importantly, being a trendsetter, all these four paradigms play a very, very important role in your life. I want to actually encourage you, my dear friends, today that, once you finish your graduate education, are you going to be a person? Are you going to be a man or are you going to be a woman where you are going to be an inspiration for the society around you? Are you going to be a person, this particular gentleman is a man of tremendous ethical decorum. The meaning of the word ethical decorum is you are a man of your words, you're a man of your promises, you're a man of a vision, and more importantly, you're grounded in nature. When you're having all these qualities in you as an employee, that organization would love to have you in that place. Gone are the days where today we are realizing that, having a post-graduation degree is not a social norm anymore, because there are hundreds and thousands of people like you and me who are basically stuttering and stammering every single day to bring a life out of our blood. But at the end of the day, if there's one quality that would prefer your existence today, it's the values that I've shared before of caring, sharing, being an indigenous asset, and more importantly, being a spiritual trendsetter. And last but not the least, I would like to end my presentation with a statement that, today we are living a world where the competition is plenty. There's plenty of competitions. Every nook and corner, there is a business school, there is an engineering college. But you and me know that, until and unless we are going to equip ourselves in the best of places, for us to get a job outside is going to be extremely questionable. And today, I think that, you are very fortunate, and I am also very fortunate as a speaker today that the AIIMS has called us. I would like to thank the AIIMS for giving me an opportunity to speak. It's been a tremendous pleasure and a great privilege. As I was telling in the much beginning of my presentation, as I was doing some research about the AIIMS, it was an institution that was formed in 1988, where we had only around 100 business schools as partners. Now today, you have business schools mushrooming in every nook and corner of every district in the country. I think the biggest challenge of AIIMS, and as the president of the AIIMS, Dr. Nandagopal, your biggest challenge today is to instill quality education in all the business schools. Because every nook and corner, when a business school is coming, every nook and corner, when an engineering institution is coming, the faster it opens, the more sooner it starts. So at the end of the day, the quality of education is a very, very big question mark today. I hope that in years to come, that our Indian education system will be on par with all the other modern developed education systems in the world. At last but not the least, I would like to thank Dr. Sunil Joshi for giving me an opportunity. I hope my session was good enough. If you want any questions, I am ready to take it up. I hope I added some value into my presentation. Thank you very much.
It's a very interesting session. We have a few questions, Tony.
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, I think there's one question from Professor Ramachandran. He is asking you, according to you, how would you rate the existing MBA students? And also I request all the participants, please post your questions in the chat box. Okay. I think, Tony, the question is, how do you rate the existing MBA students?
Sir, to be very honest with you, I am also pretty new actually. I also was a student exactly six to 7 years back. But honestly speaking, the modern day students are extremely tech friendly. They're very tech savvy. One of the biggest challenges that as faculties that we face today is to go ahead with the times. Today, most of the students are extremely smart. They are extremely independent. They are extremely courageous in most likelihood they're extremely courageous. In fact, around 2 weeks back, I was in Bangalore in a tech park called as Manantaya Tech Park, where I was invited by a company called as 7-Eleven. It is one of the biggest retail chains in Southeast Asia, and I think most of the European countries. One of my friends, her name is Merin Ajo. She's actually an MBA grad from Price College in Bangalore, and she's right now working as the regional head of 7-Eleven. It was an operation that was started exactly 10 months back, and I was in Manantaya Tech Park about exactly 2 weeks back, and they had around 45 employees, out of which around 20 of them are MBA graduates and extremely smart. They are all pass outs from the pandemic pass outs, hardly around 20 to 23 years old. They are extremely smart, they're extremely competent, and they all know how to sell themselves. And I think these days, not only MBA students as such, most of the students are actually extremely smart. The only thing is whether to give their attention and focus for a longer period of time on a particular situation or a subject, that is going to be a big question mark, sir. I mean, even when I'm handling classes for a few colleges here in Coimbatore, the attention span is actually only 20 to 30 minutes. To keep them focused for more than 30 minutes it's a very big challenge. And I think most of the students, if we're going to face even bigger problems in another 5 to 6 years times, most of the MBA graduates all are going to be the Gen Z MBA graduates, people who are born after 2000. That is going to be a bigger challenges for faculties above the age of 45, 50. So it's a big challenge, sir. The challenge is very omnipresent. See, the faculty today, the biggest problem that faculties today we face is, the amount of research publications that is happening in our schools extremely poor. And that also depends upon the intrinsic motivation of the faculties. Most of the faculties are here, not alone here in Coimbatore, but most of the colleges that I visited, they all are not ready to come out of their comfort zone. Until and unless the faculties are ready to come out of their comfort zone, they will not be able to motivate the students also to come out of their comfort zones. Now, let me ask you a very pertinent question, sir. How many MBA students actually want to become faculties? I was one student who actually wanted to become faculty, but because of research and obviously I loved public speaking, that's a different story altogether. But how many students are actually motivated to become faculties today? Hardly a very few. I still remember once when I was in the US 2 to 3 years back, one of my friends is doing his PhD in Maryland State University. And he had invited me. He was doing his PhD. There's a college called as Coimbatore Institute of Technology. He actually finished his chemical engineering from CIT Coimbatore, went on to finish his MS in nuclear technology in Maryland State University, and fortunately got a PhD at the same university. Now, there, if you want to do your PhD, there is some role called as a graduate assistant where you need to work with as a research scholar to your PhD guide for 2 to 3 years. Only then you can start your dissertation and thesis. But the question that remains lies in India is, are the faculty and the MBA students both put together, are they motivated enough to present research papers which would add a value to the society? And that is a very big question mark, sir. So until unless the faculties are extremely competent, it's very difficult to motivate the students. So I think, the students are extremely smart. The only thing is, the motivating factor for the student is when they see a real role model in front of them, when they don't see a good guru in front of them where they can lead a life of their competence. That's a big question. So any other questions?
I had a question, if I'm permitted to ask, please.
Yes, sir, please.
The classification of students. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, please. Yes, sir, please, sir.
The classification of students that My query was, in all humility, I am also a faculty member in an advanced stage. How
Yes,
would
sir.
you classify the different faculty members? What I have in mind is, for example, one set of faculty members could be academically qualified, all through remaining a teacher. One set of faculty members could be professionally qualified, coming from corporates. And the other two sets could be, one would be clinical teachers, only preferring to stay in the classroom, and the other could be researchers, or they would also like to additionally network. So do you have any offered classification of faculty members, sir? That was my query.
Sir, thank you so much, Professor Devaprasad Chattopadhyay, for this
Welcome,
question,
sir.
sir. Sir, I am actually, to be very honest with you, it's an honor to get a question from a very renowned academician like you. Sir,
No,
my only point is I can only talk on terms of management education is concerned right now, sir. So let me be very honest with you. While I was studying in PhD Institute of Management, it's one of the oldest institutes in South India. In fact, we are more than 50 years old. And right now, I serve as the vice chairman of the PhD Management Association, which is run for the alumni. And one of the biggest feedbacks when I've attended a lot of board of studies meeting, one of the biggest feedbacks, and which I also personally encountered as a student, is, sir, the difference between good B schools and a temple of excellence is very simple. Okay, if you look at the IIMs. And if you look at other private business schools, and I can talk only on terms of management schools, not for engineering. So the difference is, as a student, for example, I am an engineering student. Okay. For example, I am an engineering student. I've studied engineering for 4 years. I worked in Infosys, TCS, name of the company, for 3 to 4 years. At the age of 25, 26, I'm going to come for my PGDM program of an MBA program. And I'm sitting in front of a conventional faculty who's been teaching marketing or HR or operations or whatever it be for 20 to 30 years. As a person who's employed in the corporate for 3 to 4 years, I somehow feel, sir, and with utmost humility, okay, I somehow feel there is a disconnect between a conventional faculty and a faculty who's working in the corporate and coming to teach us. Now, for example, I was a human resource student. Okay. In my second year, all my subjects, for example, subjects like leadership and change management, performance appraisal, labor laws, all of these professors who taught me were all people who did not have any PhDs, but were working as vice presidents and managers at top companies in Coimbatore. I found with utmost humility that, the kind of knowledge and competence that they had in sharing their experiences to the students was far more insightful than a conventional faculty who has got a PhD in industrial labor relations for 30 years. So that was my point, sir. Like, I think there should be a proper balance between people from the industry coming and teaching us. And sir, I am all for chalk and talk method. I am all for those things. I am not denying any of those things. I have the greatest tutelage for all the gurus in the country. They're all, so without gurus, there are no shishyas. But somehow, as far as management education is concerned, I feel the industry and the experienced people from the industry play a vital role in making students to immerse on what the life in the corporate will be, which I think there's a proper disconnect with the conventional faculty who's been teaching for 30 to 40 years. So if I'm wrong in my statement, I take back my words in utmost humility, because I don't have the prerequisite knowledge and experience like renowned academicians like you.
Another question.
Okay.
I think, Tony, there is another question. The question
Yes.
is, how do we motivate young guys to get knowledge and skill in management? How do we motivate them to learn?
Exactly. So I will give you another example. But see, the motivation basically, again, it comes from intrinsic motivation. See, most of the people, when they join a management program, in the orientation program, most of the people who join these MBA programs in private business schools, based on my experience, they basically join out of two factors. The one factor here is, the first factor is because most of our friends has joined this management program, so I'll also join. Second is for social status. Motivation is a very big challenge. Now, for example, while I was studying in PhD, our director, Dr. Nandagopal, who's very much sitting over here, he always made it a practice that early morning when you come to the campus, there was always used to be two sets of paper. One is business standard and second is the business line. It was basically a practice of all the students to basically read those papers and then come into class. Now, the motivation always lies in not reading the papers. The motivation lies in certain faculties who would basically give a slip test every week, who would understand that, the reason why you're reading that business line and business standard paper is not to get some any good marks in the examinations. It's basically to understand how equipped you are when you sit for placements. And that's one kind of motivation the faculties always does on this. The second part of motivation that always discounts our credit is how are we able to motivate ourselves internally? And that should come within, sir. That should come within. I have always understood one thing, especially studying in a management school, is you can only take the horse to the water. You cannot force it to drink. Now, for example, one of the things that I learned in my PGDM program was out of 36 students who studied with me, hardly around 4 to 5 students were able to fund the fees from their parents. The remaining 30 students studied on bank loans or on the savings what they have saved while working in the corporate for 3 to 4 years. Now that they know that, until and unless you pass your first semester with good marks, the banks will not give you a second installment for loans. They know that, until and unless they study well, they are not going to get a good life in the future. So I think basically feedback is that, the motivation basically lies within. It's actually intrinsic motivation, sir. Thank you.
I think I have a question, Tony. See,
Yes, sir.
today what happens is that most of the students are having a very focused view on why they do MBA. I think the moment when they come to the campus, they expect a high salary without much of work. And their expectation is once if they join a good business school and with the expectation they are expecting. Do you think that real a good business school without you putting an effort, can you get a high salary? I think this is what the students are not clear about it. How do you handle this kind of students?
Fine. Sir, honestly speaking, with utmost humility, sir, what you said was absolutely right. Now, for example, a person who's attending an interview, a potential graduate who wants to join XYZ school, the basic thing, there are innumerable number of platforms where you can go and find out. There are enough number of YouTube bloggers who would tell you, if you join this college, this will be your salary package. This will be a company that is coming in. And just based on the basic views of what happens on YouTube, people join the colleges. One of the things that we have to understand is that, are the candidates having enough competence to basically join the program? Now, let me be very honest with you, sir. My wife is a banker for almost 9 years. She works as a bank operations manager in South Indian Bank. And she goes to recruit a lot of students in Kerala and in Tamil Nadu. And one of the basic feedbacks that she gives is most of the banks give lucrative offers to the students is because they are not able to hold back talent in the company. The attrition rate in South Indian Bank, you will not believe me, is out of every 50 assistant managers joining every single quarter, 25 of them resign in 2 years' time for better offers. Now, if you're asking me a question why they are resigning, it's because better banks give them better salaries for them to sustain. Now, for example, a very, very important question like Nandagopal sir raised is, salary is a very important thing for us to sustain in an organization. But so is professional competence. Now, professional competence only lies on two aspects. One is whether you have a vision on what your work is going to look like 10 years down the line if you're working in that company. Now, if you don't have a vision that you're going to work in the companies 10 years down the line, then there's no point in staying in that company. Unfortunately, almost 75 to 80% of the people lie in this bracket. They are in that company for sustenance and not for growth. Because if you're having a vision that you want to be in the company for 10 years, you would never leave the company, right? So that's my point, sir. If you're professionally competent enough, if you're having competency skills, you would definitely be a part of it.
I think it was a very good session. I think we got a very good feedback, Tony, about the presentation you made. And I don't see any questions now. And thank you very much for your time. And
thank you, sir.
We really enjoyed. And thank you. My personal request to all the faculty members is please encourage all your students to register in YouTube and watch the videos. These videos are available in YouTube. At any point of time, students can go to the YouTube and put the Association of Indian Management Schools and subscribe it, and they can watch the video. My personal request is all the faculty members, please request your students to watch these videos because it's all highly useful for the students of our institution. Please, I request you to please ask them to go to the YouTube and ask them to watch the videos. Hopefully that will be all useful to all of you. And once again, I thank every one of you for your active participation and your continued support for this program. I think we will continue this exercise and we'll do. Thank you very much. Thanks for